Hey, everybody. Thank you for joining us and welcome to the Founders in LA podcast. I'm your host, Ethan Cole, and this is an opportunity to shine the spotlight through the product lens on some of the exceptional startup founders we have as part of the LA community in an unedited, one-take organic conversation. With us in the studio today is Derek Osgood. Thanks so much for coming down, Derek.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, Ethan. Really pumped to chat. This is going to be fun.
This is going to be a great one. But first, a word from our sponsors. Founders in LA is brought to you by Unita. Unita Club is the co-working space that sets itself apart. With locations in El Segundo, Manhattan Beach, and Hermosa, Unita is where creativity flourishes. Unlike traditional offices, they provide an inspiring environment where ideas can thrive and businesses can grow. With Unita, there's no hidden fees, flexible terms, options for dedicated offices, and unlimited access to conference rooms, a photo studio, a podcast studio much like this one, plus standard and 3D printers, and 24/7 access to any of their locations. They're local champions who support neighborhood businesses, open their event spaces to nonprofits, and celebrate art, music, and culture. Join Unita Club and experience co-working like never before. Learn more at www.unita.club. That's www.unita.club. We're also brought to you by the Product Manager Association Los Angeles, available at pma.la. They're the largest professional organization for product and designers in LA with more than 4,000 members from over 500 companies. They host monthly meetups, organize a product leader council, and have a mentorship program where they connect working product managers with students from underrepresented groups to build a better and more diverse next gen. To learn more about PMA, go to pma.la, and to learn more about the mentorship program, go to pma.la/mentorship. Our guest today is Derek Osgood. He's the founder and CEO of Ignition. Derek, can you just give us the 30-second description of Ignition?
Yeah, for sure. So we bill ourselves as a go-to-market operating system. We basically help bring new things, products, features, campaigns, geographic markets to market from concept all the way through launch. So upfront, we have a bunch of research tools that help with collecting customer and competitive intel that feeds into planning. Then we have some planning tools that help the product team to build and prioritize the roadmaps, hand that off into a go-to-market planning motion that includes documentation, project management, asset management for your actual marketing planning. So there's really seamless handoffs between product and product marketing. And then from there, we've got a whole AI workflow layer contextualized underneath it that helps extract insight and push information out across the rest of the organization. So all the documentation and planning that you're doing becomes enablement material that can be pushed easily outwards to sales, success, kind of all the other teams downstream of launch planning that need that information in order to sell the products that you're building. So our goals really help connect the roadmap work that you're doing to end revenue and make sure that the things that you're building actually get distributed because you're enabling the internal teams across the rest of the company much better.
So this is kind of like smoothing the path of folks who are, in the development process, building the technology and getting that into a position where the company is able to market it to customers, right?
Yeah. I mean, like one good way to think about it is actually through the lens of a feature that we're actually shipping in about a week, which is we're integrating into your CRM data as well as your customer conversations like Intercom, Zendesk, et cetera. Then we'll use AI to actually extract key deal blocking feature ideas from that. Say, hey, this feature idea is blocking XYZ deals, and we'll quantify the revenue impact of the roadmap item that stems from that. Then when that thing is marked as done and shipped, and you've prioritized it on the roadmap, you've built it, you've shipped it, we'll go back to the sales team and we'll say, hey, like individual sales rep A, XYZ deals that you're responsible for just got unblocked because this feature just got shipped. So then sales actually closes the deals that were blocked by the things that you built. So our goal is, again, like close that entire loop between collecting market intel to feed into road mapping, building the roadmaps, and then communicating it back across the org so that it actually gets distributed and sold.
That's great. I love two parts about this, right? So one part I love is the ability to, from the sales perspective, to be able to know and be kind of almost like a push notification saying, hey, by the way, this thing is ready, so that this deal that you had on hold, you should, go back to your customers. And I'm sure it's probably even like a preview before that too. It's probably like, it's not just when it goes live, but I'm sure there's like a warning ahead of time and kind of a whole messaging system so they know what to say and when to say it and when it'll be delivered. It'll be really helpful from the sales perspective, but also from the product management perspective from that team. one of the more challenging aspects of product development from that product side is to identify revenue impact of a feature. And so, providing a tool that helps that team's product management specifically, but also just kind of product development in general, to be able to say, hey, these things that we're building are impacting the company in these ways, is like a superpower that, some companies are able to do, but that's kind of rarefied air that you're actually doing that. More often than not, there's either like kind of some fuzzy math that goes, or backtracking, or you look at, total subs and you guesstimate based on like usage what might be the number of people it's impacting. But to have, more of a data supported argument would be phenomenal.
Yeah, totally. You can actually prove the impact of the things that you're doing and like quantify that, tie it back to specific deals won. And that's something that most product managers, like you said, they struggle with. And the other side benefit of that is it also helps you to hold your sales team accountable when they're asking you for new stuff, because you can go back to them and say, hey, look, like the last 3 things that you asked us for that you said were deal blocking features, they ended up not actually converting the deals when we shipped that thing. And so you can actually go and like use that as a bit of a stick to fight off all the different stakeholders who are asking for new stuff constantly with kind of happy ears.
You'll find the folks that like you really want to start listening to versus ones you're like, well, you burned me twice before. I'm not sure.
Our plan's actually to eventually actually give you analytics on that, so we can actually quantify and like weight the feature requests that are coming in from different folks across the org based on the likelihood of it actually closing the deal.
Oh, that's amazing. So how did you find yourself dedicating so much time in your life to this? Is this a pain point you experienced in your career, or like how did you find yourself in this seat?
Yeah, I think, this is a thing that I've been marinating on for a while. So I historically have run product and product marketing teams kind of throughout Silicon Valley. So, early on in my career as a brand manager at PlayStation, where I was actually doing both product management as well as the product marketing side of the house and campaign planning. And so I actually like saw how these teams kind of fit together in one role. And from there, like I've been in startups. And so I've done a lot of early stage stuff. I've done a lot of mid stage stuff and some hyper growth. I stood up the product marketing team at Rippling most recently. And there, it was a small 3-person product marketing team managing a 20 product line organization with insane feature velocity. And the collaboration between sales, product marketing was just so broken. And like I had been marinating on this idea of like, how do you create more repeatability and process around launching things for a long time, because I'd been building those systems in my own roles.
Right.
And I just, it crystallized for me just how important this is to actually driving like real upsell, cross sell, and like net revenue retention. It's like, when you're launching things, there's real business reasons that you're doing it, right? Like you're not actually doing this just because you think that a feature is cool. You're like, look, you're trying to retain existing customers, you're trying to expand existing customers, and you're trying to capture new ones by introducing some new shiny thing in your product. And that communication just breaks down so much along the value chain, from like product actually deciding to build it, engineering actually building it, and then you trying to communicate that to the product marketing team, who needs to then formulate that into a message to customers. And then somehow that message continues through the game of telephone to sales.
Right.
And by the end of it, like sales doesn't even know the thing is coming in the first place, much less like how to talk about it, what assets are available for them to use. And so this I have a good process for this, and like, it allowed us to scale this really well with like really complex go-to-market motion at Rippling. And I basically just decided to productize it and, went out, did a lot of customer interviewing. I talked to 100 plus PMs and PMMs, leading into this before we ever wrote a line of code.
That's great.
Worked with my co-founder on it, and he'd been through all of this from the product side of the house. And, we basically just were like, look, there's a hole in the universe here. We need to build something. And, felt like the right time to do it.
Yeah. And then that game of telephone, I hear you. I've been a part of many companies where the sales team and the development team are disconnected. And so it really does everyone a favor if they understand, where is everything at? How is it going to impact the stuff that I'm trying to sell to folks? And also, how do I speak to it?
Yeah. Yeah, it's stunning how difficult it is for companies to just do something as simple as even create a cohesive like launch calendar of like when things are actually launching that customers are going to care about. And they'll have a roadmap, but the roadmap is what product is using to manage what's getting built. It's releases, it's actual like features. It's not customer facing announcements. And so, the cohesion about like what is happening, where are things in status, is opaque because all of that's scattered across a bunch of different information silos because there's multiple teams cross functionally that are working on this. You have product who's building the product, you have marketing who's planning the announcement, and then you have the sales team who's actually got to sell it. And so they're all living in information silos across like 15 different tools. Messaging is in a bunch of docs that are floating around. Nobody remembers which doc anything is in.
Right. It
And
goes stale very fast.
goes stale super fast. You have V1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of that thing, and you
Right.
don't know which version's actually the latest one to use. And so there's no like coherence to the process. And you're also doing all of the work in different tools. So you have all your kind of documentation and your
Yeah.
actual project management happening in one place, but then you're doing all your research in a survey tool, that all that context that's incredibly valuable to even all the people like the furthest downstream of this process. All that context lives in only the person who actually did the research in the first place's head. It never makes it through the rest of the stages of the process to inform what's going on in marketing planning, for example. So, like I got frustrated because I was doing all the research in one place. I was then copy and pasting that stuff into some documentation, copy and pasting from that documentation into a bunch of status updates, copying and pasting from those status updates into a bunch of other tools, and like storing assets in sales enablement tools. And there's just no connectivity between the process.
That's great. You're just like, there's got to be a better way.
Yeah, I just got fed up with it. I'd used every tool and template under the sun, and I was just like, this just doesn't work.
Well, that's great. And I believe congratulations are in order right now for some recent funding, if you're allowed to speak to that.
Yeah, I can definitely talk about that. We haven't like formally announced it yet, but we just closed a new round of funding. We're kind of in the process of scaling up the team a little bit, adding our first couple of sales and marketing folks internally. And so it's fun times at Ignition right now. We got a couple of really big launches coming up here in the next couple of weeks. Like I mentioned, we're shipping the revenue-based road mapping tool. We're shipping, what we're calling Chat GTM, which is contextualizing all the documentation and information that lives in your workspace in a Chat GPT style interface. So you can basically, sales can come in, ask, how do I talk about this product to this persona? We'll spit out a personalized messaging guide that includes what to say to that persona, what that persona cares about, what assets are approved for them to use, as well as like what things are on the roadmap that are potential upsell opportunities for them to talk about. So bunch of cool stuff going on right now for us.
That's really exciting. And in this environment, it's not a small feat to get funding. So congrats on that. That's huge.
Yeah. And we were lucky enough to do it really quick, closed around in less than a month, which nobody's doing right now, which was exciting. Testament to, our team and like what we've been able to build. It's been, exciting. And the folks who are coming in are A+ investors, some really killer product leaders. We've got, Audacious Ventures leading it, who are ex Lightspeed Kleiner guys. So, some really sharp folks coming into the team.
That's terrific. That's amazing. And grounding in LA, what is the most LA thing? Getting some seed funding is definitely a very LA thing.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. The most LA thing that's happened to me recently. So I've been working with a personal trainer for a while, and I was in my gym, kind of pushing a prowler, and I was like half dead at the end of a workout and kind of like hanging my head. Saw somebody kind of like reach down to give me a fist bump, and like I looked up and it was Jason Segel. And
yes.
So I was like, he had just started training at my gym, and so it was just pretty fun.
Oh, that's amazing. I love that. Yeah. He's one of my favorites. He does some really good movies. That's terrific.
Yeah, likewise.
And
yeah.
Probably the last person you expected of folks at a gym. Like, I feel like he'd be like, you wouldn't be so intimidated with him at the gym, right?
Yeah. No, but it's funny. He's hanging out there all the time. Like before his workouts we kind of like slightly overlap, and
that's awesome.
He just seems like the nicest dude. Yeah, he seems awesome. It's great.
Just there, just a fist bump you and you do a good set.
Yeah.
Oh man, I absolutely love that. I love Jason Segel too. Well, thank you so much again, Derek. We've been speaking with Derek Osgood of Ignition. Like to thank our sponsors, PMA-LA and Unida. I'd like to thank you all for listening to us. And if you like what you hear, please smash that subscribe button. Thanks again for joining us, and We'll catch you next time on Founders in LA.